forward. There we go. Okay. Oh, I did a little thing there. That's okay. All right. I'm going to turn my camera off so I don't look at myself and I can focus on other things. But thank you guys so much for coming tonight. I'm really excited to tell you all about this new program that we're starting. Yeah, I'm really passionate about ospreys, and it sounds like a lot of you are too. So it's gonna be fun. Let's see. Sorry, I'm also operating the waiting room, and there's people trying to get in. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about the Osprey Nest Monitoring Program, which is why you guys are all here. Very exciting. Before we begin, I guess I just wanted to introduce myself and say, welcome. My name is Jess Garby. I am the Conservation and Education Coordinator for the Flathead Audubon Society. And if you don't know about us, we are part of the National Audubon Society, your local chapter here in the Flathead Valley. And our mission is to conserve birds and their wild places through education and conservation. So we do that a few different ways. In this picture on the left-hand screen, you'll see me with a bunch of kiddos. So the really fun part of my job is going into classrooms and talking to kids about birds. So this was, I think this was second graders at a school here in Kalispell. And then the top right picture is a school group at Owen Sourwine, which is some land that we manage off of Willow Glen. And it's a great spot for birding. It's a great conservation success story, among other things. And we are a member-run and donor-based nonprofit. So if you would like to become a member, you can do that online or come to one of our meetings, but it's definitely not required to be a volunteer for us. Some other things we do is we host a general meeting once a month on the second Monday of every month at the Gateway Community Center, where we invite speakers, scientists, anyone that wants to share their love for birds with us. And it's a fun gathering that we do once a month. If you have any questions about that, you can ask in the chat or visit our website, which is a great resource. So today we are going to be talking about a few things. I'm going to really go in depth on osprey ecology, including identification, their diet, and life history. I think this is really important before we talk about any of the training information because we need to know how to identify these birds. We need to know all the wonderful things about them, what makes them worth protecting, and kind of their value environmentally. And then I'm going to talk about threats to ospreys, the historical threats, and then the current present day threats that they face. And then lastly, I'll talk about the actual survey protocols and how you collect data. So this is our study species, the osprey. This is seriously one of my favorite birds. What's really amazing about them is they go by so many different names, like Seahawk, the Seahawks. Not a Seahawks fan, but I had to throw that in there. They go also by fish eagle and fish hawk. So you might hear these colloquial terms thrown around. And what's also really special about them is they are found on every single continent except Antarctica. So they're just such a widespread species. And what's even more unique about this is that their scientific name, so their genus and species, is the same. That no matter where you go, there are some subspecies, but it's the same exact osprey. You'll notice or you'll observe in Florida that you'll observe in Australia. So it's pretty incredible how diverse it is in the sense of, on the sense of the globe, but its DNA is the same. I just find that really fascinating. So to identify an osprey, this is a classic close-up photo of one by Dan Casey. They're, your classic large eagle-like bird known for catching fish, and they're obviously a raptor. And so there's three main things that makes a bird a raptor. It's that long hooked bill right here. their sharp talons, and then their diet, which means they're typically an omnivore. But there are a few things about ospreys that make them particularly special in the bird of prey world, and it's really their feet. Their feet are absolutely fascinating. Here's some really cool up close photos of them. And the placement of their feet kind of looks like an X, if you can see that. And this is very atypical in birds of prey. Some owls have this feet arrangement, but it's called zygodactyl. And it basically means that they can move this fourth foot or fourth digit, it's called their halix, and they can fully move it around to grasp their prey differently. And to really understand what I'm saying, this is the osprey, but see, it's like in an X. Here's your buteo, so like your red-tailed hawk. The halix is, it's stuck there. They cannot move the thumb. Here's an accipiter, the goshawk, same thing, can't move the halix. Eagles, same thing. Like I said, owls can move their halix around, but it's a pretty adapted, really cool thing that they got going on for them. Another thing about their feet, which I wonder if we can go back again, is that you'll see they're really textured. And this texture really helps them grasp onto their prey, which is slippery, slimy fish. And they're called spicules, all that texture on that. And yeah, it just really helps them grip on their prey. So if you ever see like a buteo in hand, like a red-tailed hawk, they don't have as much texture on their soles of their feet. Another thing that makes ospreys absolutely incredible and unique is their diet. It is about 90% fish, and it's one of the only birds of prey that its diet is exclusively live fish. They will occasionally eat other things like frogs and turtles and snakes. And if you're in a place with alligators, they'll even eat small alligators. I've never seen that before. I grew up in Florida, but I unfortunately never got to see that. But I did see them flying around with a lot of snakes and some really cool fish species. But what's also, there's so many fun things to talk about with their diet. And they will kind of plunge feet first. Once they know their target, the fish that they want to catch, they'll plunge feet first. Talons go in the water. Their whole body pretty much goes in the water, and they most of the time will successfully catch their prey. And most of these photos are from my friend Will in Florida. So the fish, you're like, hey, that doesn't look like a Flathead Lake fish. That is why. So some fun, quick little facts about osprey and their fishing habits is that all the research says that typically in at least 1 in every 4 dives, they're successful. So think about when you're out fishing, 1 in every 4 casts, you get a fish. That would be pretty awesome. That'd be a pretty good day. They can catch fish that weigh more than a pound. So sometimes that can even mean 1/3 of their body weight. And you'll notice, and I'm sure many of you know this because it's a very well-known fact about osprey, is that they will, use that halix, that 4th digit, to really turn around the fish and make it go in the direction that it's flying. So it will have less wind resistance. And so I have a little video here of an osprey fishing. If you guys can see that. I think that's like a flounder, which is kind of fun. I don't know. Does anyone know what kind of fish that is? It's definitely in Florida. So yeah, as you can see, they really do get fully wet. They kind of are like a dog shaking off all the water when they come up from the water. It's pretty incredible to watch this. And I'm sure this summer, in a few weeks, we will all be out there looking to see them hunting, which would be super fun to see. Okay, so kind of moving on to identification. So ospreys, like most birds of prey, are sexually dimorphic, which means the females and the males do look different, although it can be pretty subtle. The females are generally larger, and they also have this speckling on its chest or on her chest, and it's often referred to as a necklace. And then adult male is going to have a completely clean chest. There's going to be no speckling there. This can be kind of hard to see sometimes. It's not going to be a necessary thing for you to know when you're doing your surveys, but you'll probably pick up on who is the female and who's the male. And then looking at the juveniles, again, most birds of prey, one of the ways that you can identify them based on age is the eye color. So if you look at this juvenile, it's got this kind of orangey eye color. They also have a little buffy color on their nape, so on the back of their neck. And then if you get to see them from the back, which a lot of us will when they're perched, you'll see these white-edged feathers. So I'll go back to the adult really quick. They have yellow eyes. I guess I don't have one of it perched in the back for you to see, but its back will be pretty brown, uniformly brown, instead of these white kind of edged feathers. And then there's fledglings and nestlings, which are really fun. So this is a fun little easy graph. We don't have to remake the wheel all the time. I found this online. And it kind of shows the life cycle from hatching to fledgling. And so the females will incubate for about 30 to 40 days. They will actually, the eggs will hatch a few days apart. And that's basically a success of like, okay, the first egg that hatches, mom can feed it for a few days and then move on to the next. So it's kind of a survival strategy. I'm sure it has some scientific term, but it's kind of going out of my head right now, but that's okay. So then they go from hatchling to nestling. Nestlings cannot fly yet, hence the term nestlings. They are stuck in the nest. And then as they get older, keep getting fed, keep growing, they become a fledgling. And fledglings are officially leaving the nest and learning how to fly. So this picture was taken on a research project I did with Raptor View Research Institute. And the best time to band ospreys are before they fledge. So it's a very fine line. You kind of have to get them a few days before they fledge. And this is what they look like right before they fledge. They're kind of derpy, kind of dorky looking. And you'll see this fish here. Every time we went up into a nest, we would kind of offer a peace offering of a fish because we so disrupted their day by taking them down and putting some bands on them. So I wanted to also talk about their migration because I think it's obviously super important. The species or the population that we have here in Montana has actually been pretty well studied in the Missoula area by Raptor View Research Institute. And I just wanted to show you guys this link. So this organization puts GPS transmitters on raptors, pretty much all the diurnal raptors in our area. And then we get live footage of where they're going. So, there's an archive of birds that are no longer with us, but you can see there's data since 2013. And you can actually watch, I'll just click on a random year. You can actually watch them hanging out in their wintering grounds. They're going to hang out there all winter. They head back to Montana in around March. Let me find March on here. So here's March. This is 2018. These birds are still hanging out down there. to the end of March. April, one of them starts heading up, the next starts heading up, and they all, by the time April's over, everyone's going to be up here breeding, moving around, having fun. Oh, and then Avery left really early. And you'll see, so this is a fun little tool to mess with. You can look at other species as well. Bald eagles, Cooper's hawks, peregrines, turkey vultures. And this is kind of what the GPS transmitter looks like. It fits like a backpack, and the hood is just to calm the bird down while it's in hand. Okay. So the next thing we are going to talk about is recognizing sound. Ospreys are pretty vocal, which I think is a fun thing to listen to. They have a very high-pitched whistling sound, and most of you probably are quite aware of it. I really like using Cornell Labs allaboutbirds.org to research birds. So here's a video, and hopefully you guys can hear the sound. It's coming from my laptop, but I've watched this a few times, so I know where she makes. That's one of their calls. And then if you look at this website, you can see their calls are actually labeled as to what they mean. So a display call. I'll just play that one. See. I'll do this call. That almost sounds like a Cooper's hawk to me. I'm sorry if that's really loud. It is really loud in real life too, which is super fun. I'm so excited to hear that sound again. So hopefully when you guys are monitoring the nests, you won't be hearing that. Often when I've done, nest checks, those birds have they'll be very vocal because you're handling their nestlings, but we're gonna hopefully stay a very safe distance away from them so they won't vocalize, but that's just what they sound like. Another important thing to know about ospreys is being able to recognize their flight pattern. So a lot of people will often confuse ospreys with gulls, like seagulls, or even juvenile bald eagles or adult bald eagles from far away. But their flight pattern is actually pretty different. The books love to say that they look like they're a flying M, which is very gull-like. And they have these prominent wrists kind of poking out as well. And I'll show you a video of them in flight. They're quite flappy, especially when they're hovering over water. They'll soar. But you can kind of see that M shape here. And just to compare it to a bald eagles fly completely flat. Their wings are completely straight across. They'll never appear like an M shape. Okay, and getting into nesting behavior. So this is what ospreys can nest on artificial platforms or natural platforms such as ponderosas or cottonwoods. I think in the valley, they're mostly on artificial platforms. And they'll use natural nesting materials and synthetics. So natural nesting materials, obviously a bunch of sticks, grasses. Artificial materials can be twine, even clothing sometimes. They'll find some really interesting stuff that looks suitable for their nests. And during courtship, the male will actually bring nesting materials to the female. And if she likes him, she'll let him hang out on the nest. And then after the male and female mate, the male will tend to protect the female and provide most of her food for her as well. Sounds pretty good to me. Um, this is a classic example here of a nest that's pretty infested with baling twine, which we will get into. So that was kind of the ecology and identification part of ospreys. I will be creating like a PDF guide of this too for like a quick reference. But I would also recommend downloading the app Merlin, which is by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. I'm sure most of you know of that. And that can help with identification. There is a raptor specific, birds of prey specific app as well called Raptor ID by the Hawkwatch International. So if you want to download that, that is free as well. So now we're going to get into kind of the more depressing stuff, all the threats that actually not all of the threats that ospreys have to face, but some of the threats that they've faced historically and current day. So I was really fascinated finding this photo. This is actually, well, I guess some of you can probably guess that this is an aerial shot of DDT being sprayed, and look at the location. I couldn't believe this existed. It was the Lolo National Forest in Idaho. And I found this on it was like a Eastern wildlife website. I could not believe, I was like, oh my gosh, that's in our neck of the woods. So DDT, a lot of you know the age-old story. DDT was a pesticide that was used to control insects, specifically mosquitoes, to help stop the spread of malaria. And it was used because it was really inexpensive. And it was also used in World War II. So the military was trying to control malaria and other things to help the soldiers and civilians. And it was sprayed like this. It was also like spot sprayed. It was sprayed on crops, even in our area, which I'll talk about a little bit. Homeowners basically started using it. It wasn't just, widespread like this. And DDT is, now that we know, extremely toxic thanks to so much research done, but notably Rachel Carson's research that was denied, unfortunately, but now we praise Rachel Carson for her work. And this is kind of how it works in an ecosystem. So when farmers or whoever sprays DDT, it'll eventually enter our water sources, where it affects the smallest critters first. So phytoplankton up to zooplankton to small fish, larger fish, and then those animals that eat fish. So eagles and osprey. And osprey and eagles and peregrine falcons were significantly affected through this. This is called bioaccumulation or biomagnification. And basically what it did to ospreys and other fish eating birds of prey is it made their eggs extremely thin. So it was basically prohibited the osprey's eggs from being able to produce calcium. So these eggs were extremely thin. And when the ospreys were incubating the eggs, they would just crack. So they weren't even reaching success at all. And we know all of this because there was a lot of research done in the East, but surprisingly, there was research done here in our area in the 60s and 70s. So DDT was outlawed in, I believe 72, maybe a little earlier than that. I can't remember the exact year, but there were these two brothers, the McCarter brothers, who studied ospreys in this area. They were seeing research coming out from the East, which there's a huge population osprey in the East, and they wanted to look into what was going on here in the Flathead area. And they knew that the cherry orchards around the lake were using DDT. It turns out, so in their paper titled 10-Year Nesting Status of Ospreys at Flathead Lake, I have it here if anyone is interested in reading it. It's very consumable. It's not too hard science. And they basically looked at nests around the area. Here's all their nests here. And for 10 years, tracked the success of active nests, productive nests, and occupied nests. And they did notice a steady increase. I have a quote from this paper, and it says the number of occupied nests has more than doubled from 1967 to 1977, while the number of productive nests has also more than doubled in recent years. So it was a small success story, and it's great to know that we have this historical nesting data. And so here are the brothers here. There's actually a wonderful, and this is a picture that I think Dawn took of a nest here. And this is a link to an article that is on our website, actually by Gail, who's in this Zoom right now. And it was so nice to read this. I've had a few conversations with Doug recently, and it's been really lovely to get to know how this research from him personally. And yeah, I'm really excited to continue this partnership with them. And if you want to learn more about the brothers, you can check out the chat. Oh, thank you. Gail said DDT was banned in the US on December 31st, 1972. Perfect. In their paper, in that 10-year nesting status, it did mention that the cherry orchards in our area stopped using DDT in the late 60s, but obviously that's going to stay in the system for a little bit. I really, really enjoyed this. This is the last two sentences of the paper. And it says, monitoring the osprey population on a 3 to 5 year basis is recommended. It is hoped that the osprey population at Flathead Lake will continue to survive. And I was like, wow, how timely is this? I'm so excited that all this historical data was collected and now we get to add on to it. So this is another picture that Doug sent me. This is one of the other current threats to ospreys, and that's entanglement through fishing line. As you know by now, their diet is mostly fish, so this is an unfortunate common situation that they can run into. And then getting to the kind of point of this observational study that we're beginning is the presence of baling twine in our area. So if you don't know, baling twine is used by farmers and ranchers, and it's a quick, easy way for them to store hay and straw. And I would love to share that I recently talked at the Backcountry Horsemen of the Flathead, their general meeting, where I presented this presentation to them about ospreys and baling twine. And they were extremely receptive and understanding that baling twine is a huge problem. And everyone in that room actually said they properly dispose of baling twine, which to properly dispose of it basically means just putting it in a closed container where birds can't see it as great nesting material. And I was really inspired to hear that. So we're going to continue our outreach and just continuing to educate farmers and ranchers, 4-H groups about how to properly dispose of baling twine. And so these next few photos that I'm going to show are pretty graphic, but it is, I think, important for us to see about what baling twine actually does. So I'm just going to click through some of them. So most of these are taken here in Montana by those various research groups that I was mentioning. And it is ospreys actively being entangled in these nests with baling twine. And unfortunately, a lot of these birds do end up dying if they're not immediately saved, which is a big effort to bring a bucket truck somewhere and safely get these birds out, safe for us and safely for them. This is Eric Green from the University of Montana, who I've got to learn a lot from about ospreys. And this is just from one nest in Missoula area, all this baling twine. So it's a pretty horrific thing, and that's why we're here. So I'm gonna get these off the screen now so we don't have to keep looking at them. And that brings us to this observational study that we're beginning, the Osprey Nest Monitoring Project. And I'm really excited to, again, update this historical nesting data that was done in the 60s, 70s, and then FWP also has some data as well from more recent years. And so we're just going to work together to update the nesting and occupancy and success rate, but then also I really would love to get just hard numbers, percentages of the presence of baling twine in these nests around the valley. So that's what we're going to do. So here's kind of the important stuff as a volunteer and why you guys are here watching this presentation. So you will monitor an assigned nest, and we'll talk about nest assignment in a little bit. And ideally, you will be able to visit this nest weekly or bi-weekly. Even if it's every, 3 weeks, it's still going to be good data. And I'm really hoping that there will be a nest kind of near everyone's house and or work. So it will be an easy thing for you to do. I don't want this to be a huge time commitment for people. Ideally, this community science project will be enjoyable for you because you get to go out and watch your nest and hopefully see ospreys, doing courtship displays and seeing nestlings turn into fledglings, turn into juveniles, and then in September get to watch them fly south. So you're going to collect really basic data, and I'll show you guys what the data sheet looks like. After each visit, you'll submit your data to me at my email. And then another part of this project is if you do happen to observe a bird entangled, like those photos that I was just showing, you'll basically want to call me right away, no matter the time, day, whatever. And we're working with a few different partners to try to figure out how we can legally enter the nests, which will probably be Flathead Electric, and they will retrieve the osprey. And sometimes these birds actually are still alive. So if we do end up retrieving an entangled bird and it's alive, we will immediately bring it to Wild Ranks Recovery Raptor Center here in the Flathead, and they will be able to treat the bird. So as a volunteer, you will not be disturbing nests, climbing. No one will be climbing these nests, not even, you will not be using drones around nests. You will try not to flush birds from the nest. And what this means is basically you're too close to the nest and the female or male leaves the nest, and or sometimes getting too close to nest can push nestlings to fledge early. So we never want to push nestlings to fledge early because they won't be able to get back into the nest. And you won't be removing baling twine from the nest. Neither will I. That's not our jobs. We're just here to collect data on it and report any entanglement risks. So ospreys are coming back. So exciting. It's pretty much any day now before we see our first osprey of the valley. And I went onto eBird and looked at, I'll show you guys this bar chart of osprey observation. So this took all the osprey reports from eBird from Flathead County and from 1990 to 2026. And it looks like some of our first reporting start around March 22nd, April 1st, April 8th, and then really, really kicks up by the second week of April. So we're really gonna start seeing them soon, and I'm so excited. So yeah, be on the lookout. I want to start our surveys April 1st, ideally. I mean, once this training's over, we'll assign nests and everything. And if you want to start going sooner than that, you're more than welcome. Because they can be, here in 4 days. So this is actually, I'm going to open the actual document for you guys, what our data sheet looks like right now. I might make some minor tweaks before we start, but this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have the same location every single week because you're monitoring the same nest. And your nest will be named. We'll name it once you guys get assigned. You'll write down the date, you'll write down the time you started observing and the end time. The status of the nest, there's a key down here. So E equals empty, P equals adults present, I equals incubating, N equals nestlings present, F equals failed, meaning, they may have shown signs of incubating, but then you didn't see any nestlings present for a few weeks, so the nest just failed. And then success equals, or S equals success, which means the birds have fledged. Some of these things might be hard to see. If you don't have a spotting scope, it's not required to have a spotting scope for this, but you might not be able to see a nestling without a spotting scope. But with binoculars, you should be able to see the adults. So you can record a number of adults, another number of nestlings. Geese present, we'll talk about that in a minute. Yes, I am talking about Canada geese. You're more than welcome to take photos, and if you do, you can submit those to me. And then the big one is status of twine. And so I've kind of categorized the twine down here, and I'll have a slide going over this. But I'm trying to get a number value on how much twine is present. And then you can add comments. So I wrote some examples of comments, but I'll show you in the slides. Okay, so as like I just showed you, there is a section for percentage of twine. So this nest is an example of a nest that has a small amount of twine, less than 10% visible from the nest, or visible nest material. And this is not, an exact science, as you'll be able to tell. We're learning in this first year. This I recorded as a moderate amount of twine, 10 to 25%. And this I consider a heavy amount of twine, more than 25% of the nest. And again, I'll kind of make this a PDF version so you guys can reference this in the field as well. Geese present. So a really fun thing that maybe some of you have noticed is geese love osprey nests. I actually have been observing a few geese on osprey nests this week, notably the one on Old Steel Bridge. He is there. So geese will basically start nesting earlier than ospreys, so they opportunistically take their nest. Often ospreys can be displaced by this because geese are pretty defensive, as we know. And so if we do see a goose on a nest, it's good data just to know that the osprey possibly tried to take the nest back, but it is eventually displaced and either will build a new nest or take a different nest. There is actually a whole bunch of, there's a thing called a goose excluder that researchers can put up into a nest before ospreys get there, so geese cannot lay eggs there. So here's going to be the examples of some extra comments that you can add. Any unusual behavior, nest changes, details on twine, disturbances, or anything like that. So I just wrote some like osprey observed carrying twine. Twine observed nearby nest. Nestlings actively flapping wings appear close to fledging. Heavy rain during observation, visibility limited. Nest appears larger or more built up. So that's just a few examples of things you can write in the comments. It's always encouraged to write comments. I think it can be really helpful for us. And finally, here is the kind of rough draft of all the nests that I know about and that some researchers have added historical nests. So let me see if I can open this. Okay. So this is a Google map. So once this training is complete, I'm going to basically email you guys one-on-one and assign you to a nest. And you may be like, oh, I know of a nest that's not on here. That's awesome. And I'll have you add that. So for example, I'll go to the one that's near my house. This is the one that, oh, no, where am I? I have to go on too much. Oh yeah, this is the one that I want to do because it's kind of near my house. And most of these nests, if not all of them, are pretty accessible. which is the benefit of doing this survey. Most, again, 99% of these you guys can just drive up to and even sit in your car if you so wanted to and watch from the road and take down your data. I would just be really cautious of making sure you stay on public lands and staying on roads. Please don't ever trespass into anyone's property. If you have questions on that, ask me. I have Onyx, so I can tell you where land management lines are, anything like that. So yeah, I will send you guys this link and you can look at the nests that I have mapped and we can discuss from there. Some of them are claimed from, our lovely board members, or some of my friends have some that they've already let me know they want. So we'll have to double check to make sure that they're not already claimed. So some what if situations, say your nest is inactive, meaning maybe an osprey came and sat on it for a few days, but nothing happened. And the past few times you've gone, it's been inactive. I think it's still really important that we continue taking data on this as long as you can. Same with your nest has been abandoned. Keep monitoring for a few weeks. This is still important data. No data is still data. If you observe an entanglement, please call me immediately. Do not approach the nest or attempt to climb the nest. We're working with Flathead Electric to retrieve any entangled birds. And I don't have many what if situations kind of lined up yet because this is the first year we're doing this. So I'm sure there's going to be more things that pop up, and I am easily accessible by email or phone, so you can reach out to me. So what are we going to do with this data? One of the things I'm hoping to do is like a mid-season report and kind of send you guys like, oh, this is how many nests we're actively monitoring that are active. This is, just some really fun information. And I think what is going to be the most valuable is by the end of the season, we'll have multiple months of nesting data and really try to get a percentage of nests with baling twine present. I'm going to Flathead Lake Biological Station tomorrow, and I'm gonna talk to them about the osprey work that they have done historically. And they also have a bunch of fun articles and just like a bunch of historical osprey stuff that I'm gonna dig through. And so if you happen to come to the training next week, which you don't have to, but I'm hoping to have some fun stuff that we can all look at together. They also have a GIS map of those studies that were done in the 60s and 70s. So that's one layer of their map. And then the next layer is studies that were done by grad students in the area. And then I'm hoping we can add our layer of 2026 data onto that. So I think that will be really cool to look at. And if we're looking long-term at this, I think it would be really cool to continue this for a few years and see if ospreys are returning earlier, I think that would be really cool to look at. Maybe they're staying longer than they usually do based on the climate. And then if we continue this for 5+, 7+, 10+ years, we can really get a population trend going. So after this training, I think I emailed you all a Flathead Audubon waiver. And if you could email that back to me. If you can't, if you don't know how to digitally sign something, let me know and we can figure something out. Then one-on-one, I want to email all of you to receive your nest assignment. Again, I really ideally would love this to be close to your work or your house. So this is an easy and fun project for you to do, maybe with family, kids, students, anything like that. Once I finalize all the data sheets and protocols, I'll send that to you guys, and then you can start monitoring on April 1st, which is super exciting. This is a whole kind of side tangent that is not really involved with this project, but I just wanted to show you guys. This is a nonprofit based out of Colorado that is actively collecting and disposing of baling twine. And so they'll kind of close these so animals can't get to it. This is inside a Ace Hardware. They even have a bunch of students getting involved in this. So this is like a future, what we're doing with this research project is pretty reactionary, right? Like this is a short-term solution. Collecting these entangled birds is a short-term solution. This is the long-term solution that I would love to brainstorm and really figure out. And lastly, I just wanted to share this. I'm a pretty sentimental person, and I've written a lot of poems about ospreys. And this is just the beginning of one of them that I wrote a few years ago. And it says, "The birds have always been with me, but I'm finally seeing them." And then a picture of an osprey. And yeah, just growing up in Florida, being around the ocean and the ospreys year round, they're absolutely amazing. And then when I moved to Montana years ago, I was like so surprised that this bird that I literally grew up with is here. And it's just a really special thing to be a part of. So, and I just wanted to thank you all for being even mildly interested in helping out with this project. I'm so excited and thrilled that 24 of you are on this call right now listening to Ospreys, just Osprey talk, all about Ospreys. So thank you guys so much. I'm really excited to get to know you guys and spend the summer monitoring together. And this is a fledgling osprey. So look at how dorky they are. It's literally like doesn't know how to hold up its wings. So that's pretty cute. But that is all I have in terms of our presentation. I see two. Let me turn my camera back on so I can see you guys. Gail said, how are we sending our data? Scan, online form, hard copy? Yeah, so ideally next year I would love to do Survey 123, which is an app by Esri
What do you want me to say?
GIS and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be hard copies. You can scan them, you can take a picture of them. You could even just send me the text of what you wrote on your data form. I know this is kind of a clunky way to submit data, but I didn't have the time to create an online form in terms of Survey 123 or anything like that, but hopefully next year. Brad said, is this only about nests? Yeah, we are only monitoring the nests. We're not doing any hands-on work. Ella said, can my mom still sign up? Absolutely. I'm recording this, so if she can't attend the in-person, I will send her the recording and she can sign up. Darcy says, it says to record twine on the log, but we need to log any entanglement materials, right? We need to log any entanglement materials. I'm not sure what that means.
So Jess, what I meant by that is if we see fishing line,
Oh,
you have
yes.
the fishing line in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I could even add just another box that says other synthetic materials. Thanks for that feedback, Darcy. Cheryl asked, how long do you typically stay at a nest? I think a minimum of 10 minutes would be great. I'll finalize that protocol and send it to you guys. But I don't want it to be where you guys have to sit in your car and stare at an empty nest for an hour. So I'll think it's going to be somewhere between 10 probably to 30 minutes, and I'll let you guys know by the end of next week once I have all the protocols sorted out. Let's see. How is it good data to collect it when a nest is abandoned? That's a good question. I think that we can see if historically that nest was ever used. It'll be good in terms of next year to see if, the bird decides to use that nest again. Let's see.
Hey, Jess.
Oh, Brad, I see your question. Nests that are on Flathead Electric or on snags. Yeah, we're talking any nests. They can be natural, like you're talking on a snag, or on platforms. Hi, Ellie.
Hi, I have a question. I think with all these windstorms, I think that at least my nest might have been damaged. When do Osprey, if they're going to make their own nest, at what point should I know if they're going to be done or are they going to repair their nest?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I'm glad you brought that up. The windstorms severely affect ospreys because they have been happening before the nestlings have left the nest, and then the nestlings are blown out and all this stuff. That's a really good question that I honestly don't know the answer to, but I will look into it and I'll let you know. Anyone has any other questions, comments, concerns? This was really fun. I'm super excited about this project.
I have a question, Jess.
Yeah, what's up?
What happens if those geese take over the nest I wanted to watch and
Yeah.
I don't have a nest to watch? I just monitor in it anyway?
If the geese continue to stay. Yeah, because the nest that you're doing, I feel like ospreys typically do come to that one. She's gonna do the old steel bridge one. I saw a goose on it today, but I think
Yeah, one year I saw a goose that was successful in keeping that nest, and then the
okay.
next year the osprey was on it again.
That's good to know. I think monitoring for at least a month after you think no ospreys will be there, I think is still going to be important because like you said, oh, the next year ospreys return. So
Okay.
I think that's still valuable. Thanks for asking. Brad, do you have a question?
Jess, I always do.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I kept my really simple. But no, but I think, when you and I talked the other day or emailed the other day, and I'm up in Lincoln County and you're assigning nests, which probably you said it'd be fun just to have me doing some, and I'm glad to do it. So, do you want me to just find my own kind of nest to look at and report back from there? Or are you going to assign me one, or should I mean, I see probably, in the summer, I probably see 15 to 20 different osprey nests.
Yeah, since your situation is special, you could totally, I think you should just, I never really spend time up there, so pick the one that's
Well,
near
you
you.
should then.
I
Okay. Oh,
know.
yeah, I tell you what, if you want to see ospreys, just 20 miles down on the Kootenai River between the dam and Libby is
Mhm.
amazing. You can just drive on the highway and see probably 40 or 50 ospreys.
Amazing.
That's
How
right. I mean,
about
it's all over in there. So, but I'm glad to do it, but I'm on my lake stuff too. So like I said, I'll just pick the ones I want, or you'll figure it out or
yeah, I
something.
think pick the ones you want. And then honestly, even if you're just driving on that road and pull over, take a pin. If you could even just pin all the nests that
Oh, okay.
there are and then pick just a few from that. But then we know there's a nest there.
There's a halfway between Libby Dam and the town of Libby. There's a boat launch and a little landing and a little out thing there on the river. It's called Osprey Landing, and there's probably, I don't know, 20 ospreys right around in there, 10 or 12 nests within that you can just pull in the parking lot and see right from there. It's amazing. And they're all over the river, along
Yeah,
with eagles. It's pretty cool.
that is really
Yeah.
cool. Oh,
Get
yeah,
up there and see it sometime. All right.
I will. Thanks for
All
sharing.
right. Yeah, I'm glad to help. Like I said, I'm up there a lot, and I love ospreys. I always have and stuff too. So I'm glad to be part of it.
Yay, good. I'm glad. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? You can always email me too. Okay, I think that is all then. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, this was kind of a big deal for me. So thank you for being so kind and for wanting to volunteer. And I'll see you all virtually. And I will students. Oh, thank you guys. You guys are so sweet. I'll just make sure to email. I have the list of people who came today, so I'll email all of you individually and we'll assign you guys a nest and get you guys all the stuff you need. Yay!
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jess. You were absolutely wonderful.
Thank you guys. Bye.